This is Yusuf here. I don't realize I'm looking kind of shaggy right now. Oh, Lord. About the 20th video I've made towards you, I've only published like, well, one directly towards you, another one towards you. But that was on an issue, total side issue, but it was, you spoke about Islam, which is something that's a part of me that is not going away. But I want to touch on the main thing, the thing that I was brought up on, that said, you know, I mentioned you in this because I was the one that opened the door. I didn't, proselytizing is against Eastern Orthodoxy, and I tell from your video that you don't know what Eastern Orthodoxy is. That unlike every single other church in America, at least, its rituals for marriage, burial, and baptism have gone unchanged for the past century. To the minutest detail, identical. The creeds, the hymns are all the same as they were 100 years ago. Here's something stranger than that. For 13 centuries, no change. Not in the minutest action or detail or anything. No change. I stop at 13 centuries ago. I would say 15, but I'll let you find that out on your own, but you're actually going to find out it's more like 17 and a half centuries ago. All changes stopped. That the exact prayers and hymns and creeds, now there was things like the Nicene Creed, which was the ancient baptismal creed that was used, and there was one line added, or one half of a line added, and then at Constantinople they added the lower third, and then another line, and then that's it. Nothing changed. So I'll just say for 13th century, which is actually, that's too much. That's too little. 14 centuries. For the last 14 centuries, nothing in the Atiochian Orthodox Church has changed. Antiochian, Syriac, Chalcedonian, whatever you want to call it, has changed. The tones are taken directly from the temple. The temple that wound burning, getting burned by the Romans. The iconography was pagan Roman, but it was of a Hellenized Egyptian style of Latinized Roman paganism. And it stopped. And all iconography took upon that. Two-dimensional images, where there's no creativity allowed. The buildings of the churches are basically pagan Roman temples that just got converted. When they build new ones today, if they don't take over, like, you know, a Kingdom Hall of Jehovah's Witnesses or a Lutheran church or something like that, they build them like ancient Roman temples. It's not like the See of Rome when it's screwed, you know, with Western Roman Catholicism, especially after the 1054 schism, were totally split, and they started with the Gothic and the the flying buttresses, and then they had, you know, Michelangelo and all these gaudy three-dimensional paintings, which, you know, have no meditative quality to them. They're just flashy art, and people get real creative, and there's all of a sudden there's instruments in church like organs and violins and all that garbage. $1,400 no change. And when a Jewish woman walks in and finds this, after going around to all these other religions that have changed over the years, changed over the last century, huge changes, giant changes. When she walks back into a church, an Arab church, one that I go to, she went there because of me. You can blame me. She said, I felt like I was at home. Because anyone who has anybody who knows anything about Judaism, it instantly clicks. Because the Antiochian Orthodox Church predates Islam, and Islam took a lot of what was around it and incorporated it in. This is even admitted in Islam. The minarets come from the Stylites. Hagia Sophia was a Christian church. It was changed to a mosque, and then mosques were modeled after that. The first mosques were modeled after Byzantine churches. Byzantine churches, or I should say Antiochian Orthodox churches, do not have pews, or at least should not have pews. I've seen some. I've seen some. But they should have carpet. You all face one way, prostrate. You'd probably think it's Islam. But behind the iconostasis, everything's pure and holy. Everything's pure. There's no bickering. There's no politics. For well over 1,000 years, no change. To encounter something like this, it's very powerful. Where the images are two-dimensional images that are kind of ugly to look at, but the icons are not there as art. They're there to be read, because this was a time when many people were illiterate. But they could read the icons, just like why John the Baptist has wings. I could even tell you why about the one-eyed Jack, why the one-eyed Jack's so special. What it means if somebody's holding a cross, what colors the peoples are wearing. All this seemed to get lost on you, and it turned into some Freudian expedition of sex, of weakness, instead of seeing joy and strength, which you mentioned that, but you front load it with this stuff, and then you attack. I'm the one that introduced you to this. I came out of Islam. What's my sex life like? Maybe that's unfair. We have no systematic dogma, theology, or doctrine. But we do have absolutely unchanging tradition. We do have dogma. And why do we do certain things in a certain way? Because that's the way they were always done. And that's the reason it was given. Just don't change it. Because that's how the ancestors did it. That's how the most ancient religions got preserved. That's why the most ancient religion on the face of the earth, Antiochian Orthodox. We heavily influenced Tibetan Buddhism. I'm sure you know that. I mean, it's ridiculous how heavily we influenced them. Talmudic Judaism was a reaction against us. Roman Catholicism broke off of the rest of Christendom and became its own thing in 1054 and did all the weird stuff and just started adding. Well, they were doing that since the 5th century anyways. See, I think we'd be in a better place if it was the Antiochian Orthodox, the Samaritans, and the Zoroastrians. But you have an you're very American. So you like your buffet style. You like to take parts here, parts there, parts here. It doesn't bother you. I mean, you wouldn't even think this, that we don't believe in heaven or hell. Sin is not transgression of God's law. Jesus didn't die as a penal substitution, as a sacrifice to God. This is all rejected. But you're only familiar with Western Christianity because you said Catholic. Oh, well, Christian will do the same thing. So I'm pretty sure you don't know what Antiochian Orthodox or Syriac Chalcedonian is. You can call it either one. But, again, I really want that conversation with you. I want to talk to you. I'm very interested in talking to you. And I want it to be very nice and comfortable. Honest, obviously. But, that video about Islam, man, there were some things that struck a chord with me, so that wasn't just you, believe me. That brought me back to some days. And it's actually, I fault a lot of America for not after 9/11, picking up the Quran. I mean, what is it? Sun Tzu wrote, "Know thy enemy." Well, our enemy's not Islam, it's terrorism. What do these terrorists proclaim to believe? That they're dying for Islam? You should probably learn about what they're trying to die for. Maybe you can even persuade them that that's against Islam. I think I could make a case for it. Peace to you. May God save Serbia and Syria, and may Bashar al-Assad reign for 1,000 years. This is Yusuf here. I don't realize I'm looking kind of shaggy right now. Oh, Lord. About the 20th video I've made towards you, I've only published one directly towards you, another one towards you. But that was on an issue, total side issue, but it was, you spoke about Islam, which is something that's a part of me that is not going away. But I want to touch on the main thing, the thing that I was brought up on, that said, I mentioned you in this because I was the one that opened the door. Proselytizing is against Eastern Orthodoxy, and I tell from your video that you don't know what Eastern Orthodoxy is. That unlike every single other church in America, at least, its rituals for marriage, burial, and baptism have gone unchanged for the past century, to the minutest detail.